Hey folks, Ron here. Nice to see you again. Metaphorically speaking, that is. Not metaphorically speaking, but anyway. Only one person out right now, and they happen to be right next door in their front yard to the house I'm about to film. Isn't that the way it goes? Anyway, this house here, this is the former home of James Spader, actor James Spader. We all know and love. Actually, oh, look at that fire burn. So I wanted to do this house. This is a very unusual neighborhood, and I'm going to come back to the house. Here's the house right here. Now, this house was sold. Apparently James Spader lived here till 2016. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's a very, very old neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's actually kind of close to to Koreatown, Los Angeles. So it's unusual in a sense that it's, like I say, a very old neighborhood, and it's kind of in between like center Los Angeles and downtown Los Angeles. So it's nowhere near Beverly Hills or several miles away. Oh, it's a beautiful house though. You know, but it's kind of old, trendy, funky. The neighborhood, I should say. The homes are still very beautiful. And we're going to take a walk now. And let's talk about James Spader. And before I'm through, I'll come back to the house. Although I think we can get a pretty good shot from here too. Even better. We've got those palm trees in the way. Let's go this way. Let's see the house again. Let's get away from the SUV if we can. Always happens to me. Nobody else except the person in front of the house I want to film or the neighbor. And that's just the way it goes. Or somebody pulling in. It's a good shot of the house. I wanted to do this because, you know, in the public records, it was James Spader Living Trust. He sold this house. It looks like he sold the house in 2016. But, you know, you never know for sure what people are doing, or if they're renting it out, if they still are there. Spader is definitely one of my all-time favorite actors, and I think I knew that. It's easy to talk about him because he's so he's so watchable. I think the first time I saw James Spader was probably Pretty in Pink in 1984 or so, and he was really great in Less Than Zero, Robert Downey Jr. movie, which was also filmed at least partially in my hometown of Palm Springs. And at that time, before the internet, it was exciting to see things in my hometown, you know, where we couldn't just, there wasn't a YouTube to go on and check the town out. Anyway, so Pretty in Pink and Less Than Zero. I think those are the first times. And then the next time was, I think, Sex, Lies, and Videotape really made him a big star. And that was with Laura San Giancana. And Laura San Giancana eventually went on to marry a guy named Cameron Dye, who was an actor and he's a musician. And I actually met Cameron, I mean, very briefly. We talked for like 3 hours. I had a very tiny part in a picture that Cameron Dye was in. It's a very forgettable film called Body Rock. The star was Lorenzo Lamas, and it was about breakdancers. So that tells you. But Ray Sharkey was in it, and he was a heavy dude, I'll tell you. Anyway, so Cameron Dye and I talked mostly about the movie Valley Girl, because he was in that with Nick Cage. That was his first, I think his first co-starring role. So we talked about Nick Cage, and we talked about Body Rock. And I mean, we talked about Nick Cage, which in that film would only come out a year or two before. We talked about Nick Cage. We talked about the movie Valley Girl. Nick Cage wasn't a huge star yet. And later he would marry Laura San Giancana. Laura San Giancana was in Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. So you see, 6 degrees of James Spader. Anyway, I'm also a really big fan of the series Blacklist, as many people are. I mean, Spader just has this real gravitas, and I know I like to use that word a lot. Gotta take care of my dog. Back with you in a second. Anyway, yeah, I use the term gravitas probably too much, but Spader really does have a real great depth as an actor, and he's just one of those actors you can't take your eyes off him, in my opinion. He even had a small part as Robert California, great character name, in The Office. I think it was in the 8th season, right after, probably because Steve Carell left at the end of the 7th season, and it was looking for a replacement for the manager of the Dunder Mifflin branch, if you watch The Office. And the temporary manager after Will Ferrell was played by James Spader, and I'm sure that was just sort of a favor to everybody's, you know. I think these guys did it just because they loved the show, and they were such big stars. It was a real coup for the show to get them on it. But anyway, I'll show you a little more of the neighborhood too. And see these, I mean, they are beautiful homes. This is a hidden neighborhood that I've never been in, actually. I mean, it's really beautiful. It's obviously quite old and very quiet. Looks like I'm not the only one walking dogs here. Yeah, I literally had, shows you what I'd literally never heard of this area of Los Angeles. I believe it's called the Windsor District, Windsor area. Like the adopted surnames, the last names that the current royal family have taken. I'm looking down here at the contractors marking in the concrete that I always look at, but there's no name. If it's any later than 1925, I'll be very surprised. This way or this way? Can I go this way? Look some more of the neighborhood there. Oh, here we go. Let's see. It was Will F. Peck, contractor, but no year. City inspector. I know I'm probably the only one who notices these things, but I like to because I love history and I love architecture. Okay, folks, I'm going to come back to you in a couple minutes when we're back in front of the house again, and we'll pick it up again there in a minute. You know, it's interesting to me too, excuse me, about James Spader, Jimmy. What does he call himself? JS? Jimmy Spader just doesn't sound right, does it? Or even, imagine anybody calling him Jimbo. Hey, Jimbo. Jimbo Spader. Come on, let's go this way. I was going to say, what's really amazing is that he's really seems to have kept himself, let's see, I guess he's, sorry about that, dropped my glasses. I guess he's about 60 now. He's about 60 years old as of this taping, this filming. And, you know, in 40 years or 30 years or 35 years of celebrity and fame, look at this beautiful gate here, he's really, I believe, kept himself free of controversy. I don't know much about his, or anything about his personal life. And I think that's a testament to the man, to be able to stay away from controversy, which is rare in Hollywood. I guess that's my point. Okay, look at these. I'll just show you some of the homes here. Look at that big brick one across the street. That's how they built a lot of them. In Los Angeles, even in these old, and when I say old homes in Los Angeles are in the 20s, built in the 20s. There isn't anything much older than that, as far as I know. And in all the homes I've been in, you don't typically see what you see in other states for weather-wise, like a basement or an attic. I don't think I've been in a couple of basements, or have I? It's just not a part of the architecture here to have a basement or an attic. Sometimes there's a loft built in, but these old brick homes, I know there's a lot of them in the South. I've seen them in the South and in the Midwest, and I would imagine that brick is to withstand the weather. Okay, he's found something in the grass, and he's rolling around in it. I've read why they do that, and there's never a clear, definitive answer. But whatever you're rolling in, you're going to take it home with you. Oh my God. You can't take the Windsor neighborhood home with you just because you're rolling around in it. All right, good for you. All right, in a minute we'll be back at home. I guess I'll come back to you then. What are you doing? You okay? Come here. Let's go. Scout, let's go. Come on. Stop rubbing around. Get over here. Yeah, now you're choking. Little nut. Now you're choking. Oh my God. You okay? Okay. You okay? All right, you want some water? Want some water? Just relax. Relax. Let's go to the house again. 240. How is 254? Okay?